What's it help? Back to reading Bound. I'm really excited to continue going. Oh, while I'm waiting for a couple people to get here, you gotta check out this card that one of my besties sent me. Her name is Melissa. She's amazing. She does amazing work. And look, if she didn't make this card, she does some other stuff. Like she works with ceramics and she makes jewelry. She actually made me the earrings I was wearing last night. And she's just like, she's wonderful. She's like a golden energy. But yes, check this out. She got me the card that has all of my favorite things. It has purple, my favorite color. It has hummingbird and butterfly, and I love them. It has flowers. Like, I mean, this girl knows me. She knows me, you know. And it's even done in our Pueblo style. This one is actually made by an artist out of Laguna, which is the Pueblo right next to my Pueblos. So yeah. And it's not just like one-sided. I mean, there's like, I'm not gonna put or show what she wrote inside because it's personal between us, but yes, bestie Melissa sent me that card. So if you're watching this, thank you very much. So continuing on from page 16. Oh, hey. Hi there. The sandstone of the mesa gently cradled her footsteps, deepening her connection to this enchanted place. Her senses heightened. She became fully immersed in the symphony of the morning. The rustling of leaves, the joyful chatter of birds, and the gentle whisper of the wind as it danced through the sagebrush, all harmonizing in a celebration of life and nature. As she ventured along the mesa, her russet eyes searched her surroundings for the distinctive compound leaves and small white flowers that marked the presence of wild raspberries, known for thriving in the high elevation of her homeland. She paused for a moment, closing her eyes and breathing deeply, allowing the rich, earthy scent of the land to fill her lungs and reinvigorate her spirit. Upon opening her eyes again, she quickened her pace. A flurry of butterflies fluttered around her head as she walked, their wings creating a moving kaleidoscope of colors. The young woman stopped, hesitant to move further without being able to see clearly where she was stepping. While she enjoyed the dance of the butterflies and would have otherwise reveled in their presence at any other time, she could not ignore the mounting pressure to stay focused on her task and to return home quickly. Though she didn't consciously wish to dwell on her fears, she found herself torn between appreciating the beauty around her and the anxiety of potentially encountering hostile beings in the area. The fear of danger, such as attack, theft, or worse, heavily weighed upon her mind, overshadowing her enjoyment of the landscape and the blessings in her life. The butterflies suddenly vanished, as if swallowed by the very air itself, and the young woman's gaze was drawn to a cluster of wild raspberry plants growing on a high ledge just beyond where the butterflies once were. The leaves of the wild raspberry plants shimmered with the promise of healing as they danced merrily with the breeze. She felt a surge of achievement as she walked toward the cluster, her heart swelling with relief at having found what she had been seeking. Taking a deep breath, she carefully began to scale the rocky ledge, her heart pounding like the beat of a ceremonial drum. Her fingertips grazed the rough stone, seeking purchase as she climbed higher. She grabbed a loose ledge, gasping at nearly losing her grip. The sound of dislodged rocks tumbling onto the ground below sent a shiver down her spine, causing sweat to bead up on her palms. Wiping one of her palms at a time on her manta, she clung to the rock face with all of her strength, her breath arriving in ragged gasps. After taking a few moments to steady herself, she continued her ascent and soon found herself sitting on the ledge where the wild raspberry plants swayed in the gentle breeze. While catching her breath, she gazed adoringly at the plants. Before even touching a single leaf, she offered a prayer of appreciation to the benevolent being of the shrine she had visited, to the spirits of the plant world for providing this abundance of healing, and to the plant's spirit for sharing parts of itself with her to help her loved ones. She opened her brother's canteen and carefully watered the plants with the remaining water. The young woman's knowledge of the land and its healing properties was vast, a precious gift passed down through generations of her family. She recalled how her older brother had taught her how to harvest plants with gentleness, esteem, and appreciation for the medicine they provided. It occurred to her that he too must have learned these things from their elder relatives, parents, grandparents, and other ancestors who no longer walked the earth in flesh bodies. Shivering at this realization, she felt a profound connection to those ancestors through his teachings. This sense of lineage and legacy filled her with excitement as she anticipated sharing this knowledge with her niece, who would soon enter the world through her best friend. Bringing her thoughts back to the present moment, she reached for the obsidian dagger she always carried in a sheath looped on her belt. Speaking gently to the plants and thanking them once again for their help, she carefully harvested a few large sprigs from the wild raspberry plants. After returning the dagger to its sheath, she then reached into a space between the wrappings of her belt for a short stick she usually carried there. Using the stick to tap any insects off of the leaves as she bound the sprigs into sections, her hands moved deftly as she worked with mindful awareness, fully conscious that she was part of a long lineage of caretakers who maintained balance between giving and harvesting, ensuring that the land's gifts were cherished and preserved for future generations. After placing the bundles of wild raspberry sprigs into her pouch and securing it, she felt a profound sense of gratitude and duty. By ensuring that she only took what was necessary and leaving enough of the plants to flourish, she contributed to nurturing the land for the children and beings who would come after her. This mindful approach helped preserve the natural balance and sustain the cycle of life, just as her ancestors had done before her. The mesa seemed to acknowledge her soft touch and the respect she showed for its resources. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, as if whispering a soft-spoken phrase of gratitude for her mindful actions. At this, she felt a swell of appreciation in her heart for the countless generations who had passed on this wisdom, and for the symbiotic relationship she shared with the land. It was almost enough to dispel the fearful thoughts that plagued her. Almost. With her belt pouch now filled with bundles of wild raspberry leaves, and a light dusting of cornmeal from the pouch's earlier contents, the young woman knew it was time to return to her pueblo. This particular mesa was in a trade area that many traveled through, and not all held intentions of kindness. The less time she spent alone in this area, the better. The landscape around her, once familiar and comforting, now seemed to pulse with an unfamiliar energy, the air thick with a heavy, unsettling weight. Her usual connection to the natural world, a source of serenity and balance, felt strained, as though her focus on the dangers of her quest had cast a shadow over her senses. As if to counteract her fearful thoughts, birds began to sing all around her, their voices weaving a symphony of melodies, each with its own unique pitch and rhythm. The high-pitched trills of bluebirds mingled with the rapid, lively chatter of tiny sparrows, while the clear, melodious songs of wrens resonated gracefully through the air. The young woman paused for a moment and closed her eyes, allowing the harmonious music of the birds to envelop her, filling her with a sense of serenity and unity with the mesa top. She opened her eyes, feeling a renewed connection to the land, and continued on the path towards her home. While she walked, a breeze caressed her face, carrying with it the scent of sagebrush, while the cool air created a harmonious balance with the warmth of the sun on her back. A small fox suddenly darted across her path, its tail flicking behind it as it pursued an even smaller creature that she did not see. Her thoughts drifted to her younger brother, for foxes were his favorite animal. Ever since the marriage of their eldest brother, her younger brother had become her nearly constant companion, his loyalty unwavering. She treasured the growing bond between them, rooted in their shared love for family and the land. He was emerging as a lively spirit, brimming with cheerful conversation, ever ready to erupt into spontaneous songs that made her laugh. On a summer's day the year before, the young woman returned from one of her herb-gathering hikes to find her brother eagerly waiting for her at the edge of the village. Although she was tempted to scold him for venturing so far from home alone, she asked him why he was there. Beaming with pride, her brother presented her with a bracelet and matching necklace crafted from heishi and turquoise beads. She recognized the beads immediately, as they had been given to her by a grateful neighbor after she had sent her brother over to deliver medicinal herbs to their family. Seeing the way her brother's eyes lit up when he delivered the beads to her, she decided to let him keep them, asking only that he put them to good use. The young woman's eyes shimmered with joy as she adorned herself with the jewelry, listening intently to the story of how her younger brother had carefully crafted bracelets for every member of their family. In a voice brimming with excitement, he revealed that he had made her the necklace, in addition to her bracelet, as a heartfelt token of gratitude for her generosity in allowing him to keep the beads he acknowledged were rightfully hers. He admitted that she had been the one to gather the herbs, to dry them, to bundle them, and she had known who to give them to, which only deepened his appreciation for her selflessness. Talking animatedly during their entire walk home, he rarely paused for breath. She smiled to herself, deciding from that moment on she would give him everything she received that could be used to make jewelry. The young woman's smile deepened as the memory surfaced, and she instinctively reached up to clutch the necklace she wore, appreciating its comforting weight within her palm. Bringing her focus back to the present, she reminded herself to share the fox sighting with her brother when she returned home, knowing he would be excited to hear that foxes were out and about now. Intrusive, fearful thoughts began to plague her again, sprouting from tiny seeds of fear that she had been trying to suppress. Despite finding solace in the powerful essences of her ancestors and benevolent spirit beings, she felt a vice-like grip of fear tightening around her heart as her thoughts raced uncontrollably. The spirits, manifesting around her as animals, butterflies, and birds, attempted to offer her solace and support, their vibrant colors and playful antics seeking to lift her spirits. They danced and frolicked around her, their gentle presence a reminder that she was not alone, that the world around her was alive with energy and guidance. The spirits sought to remind her of the beauty that still existed, even in the midst of her struggles, a reminder that light could be found even in the darkest of times. She pushed forward, her steps determined and unwavering, as the spirits continued their attempts to reach her, their ethereal presence a testament to the love and support that surrounded her, even when she was unable to see it. As she quickened her steps back to her pueblo, vibrant wildflowers that adorned the landscape caught her eye, drawing her out of her fearful thoughts. The colors of the wildflowers were vivid now that the darkness of her earlier journey had lifted. Towering sandstone formations reached toward the sky in the distance, captivating her with their majesty. Though she was from the area, their grandeur never failed to amaze her still. The scene, accompanied by the soundtrack of chirping birds, filled her with awe, deepening her connection to the world around her. A smile bloomed on her face, her heart swelling with appreciation for the abundance of blessings in her life. Silence. It arrived with a deafening swiftness. After taking 2 more cautious steps, each one amplified by the stillness, she crouched beside a pinon juniper shrub. Straining to detect the cause of the sudden cessation of birdsong, she began to move cautiously around the shrub while staying low to the ground. As she carefully shuffled around the shrub, her eyes caught sight of a bare root plant at her feet. Releasing a relieved breath and silently offering a prayer of appreciation, she reached for the small stick she carried in her belt and began to gently dig around the root. The earth was soft from recent blessings of rain, and she soon had the root free from the ground. After tapping the dirt off of it, she placed the bare root into her pouch with reverence, knowing it would greatly help the neighbor she had heard coughing as she had left her pueblo earlier. Just as she secured her pouch shut, a shrill, unfamiliar sound pierced the air, causing her heart to race. The sound seemed to echo from somewhere nearby, prompting her to remain crouched with her senses on high alert. Her mind raced with the possibility of encountering hostile beings. She swiftly surveyed her surroundings, trying to pinpoint the direction of the sound. If it came from the direction of her pueblo, she would need to stay hidden and assess the situation carefully. However, if the sound originated elsewhere, she figured she could seize the opportunity to make a run for it, hoping to reach her home safely. The sound of drums reverberated through the area, calling her attention toward the direction they were from, to which they seemed to be emanating. Turning her head, her eyes widened at the sight before her. In the distance, down a valley further along the mesa and away from her pueblo, she saw what appeared to be the gods of another tribe gathered together. Men, unfamiliar to her, began to sing a song she was only hearing for the first time. The figures began to dance with a fluid grace, their movements harmonizing with the rhythm of the drums and the singers' hypnotic voices. Dread filled her, freezing her body in place for moments that she knew she should be using to quickly dart back to her pueblo. A shrill whistle from an instrument she never knew until now reverberated throughout the area, jolting her out of the frozen state she found herself in. She turned to crouch her way back around the shrub and onto the path toward her pueblo when she realized that the ground was swiftly approaching her face. Pain pulsed through her brain, throbbing with every beat of her heart. In an instant, her entire world had shifted, the crushing blow to the back of her head plunging her into an incomprehensible haze. The darkness that suddenly entombed her was strangely comforting as she surrendered her consciousness to oblivion. And that's the end of chapter 1. So we're on to chapter 2, and I will continue with that tomorrow. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and if you weren't able to catch the full live stream, that's okay, because I'm going to be posting it to my profile, so you'll be able to catch it from the beginning. And if you didn't catch the beginning of chapter 1, the first part of that is also there as well. So everybody who showed up, Mom, thank you very much for coming. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a good rest of your night, morning, day, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'll be back tomorrow to read chapter 2. Good night.